I'm Rebecca from engVid. In this lesson, you will learn how to pronounce 14 of the most commonly mispronounced business verbs in English. Now, these mistakes happen to people from different parts of the world because in different ways, whatever language you speak might impact the way you pronounce things, right? So, let's look at what they are, and perhaps you will recognize some of the mistakes that you might be making. So, let's get started. The first word, very important word, okay? This verb should be pronounced focus. Say it after me, focus. Now, why am I saying this is a very important word? Because if you mispronounce this word, actually it can sound a little bit like that F word, which we don't want to talk about right now, but it can sound a little bit obscene. So, the correct pronunciation of this word is focus. Focus. All right? Right now we're just looking at the words. After this, we'll also be putting the words into some sentences and practicing them together. Let's go to the next one. Such a common mistake, especially among, well, people from everywhere. I've heard my clients, Spanish speakers, Indians, lots of people from everywhere, okay? So how do you pronounce this word? Develop. Develop, okay? So where's the stress? Here, the second syllable. Second syllable. Develop. Ready? Develop. So important. Number 3. How do we say this word? Identify. So what happens here is that people tend to say E, okay? Especially Spanish speakers, because in Spanish, the I is an E sound. But in this case, it's not in English, okay? Identify. Identify. The stress is on den. But the pronunciation problem is usually in the beginning. Identify. Number 4. Let's say this. Have. Has. Now, you might have noticed that when I was saying that, my mouth opened quite a bit. And your mouth should as well. What happens is that people tend to take this short A sound, and say his. No, we don't want to say that. We want to open our mouths and say have. I have. He has. Okay? Good, good. Glad you got that. Okay, so pay attention to the A sound in that and don't be afraid to open your mouth. All right, next, number 5. Negotiate. Negotiate. Okay? Here the stress is on go. And this part, I know it's confusing because it's like T-I-A-T-E, right? But what we're really saying is something like she ate. Okay? Negotiate. All right? Say it again. Negotiate. Good. You can repeat things many times in order to get your pronunciation right, okay? Pronunciation takes a little more practice because we're retraining our mouths, we're retraining our brain, we're retraining our hearing. We want to hear the correct sound. We want to be able to produce the correct sound. So don't be afraid to practice your pronunciation several times. When I work with my clients privately on Skype, usually what we do is during the week, they send me their pronunciation practice on WhatsApp because you need to spend a few minutes every day working on your pronunciation. That's how eventually it will change. Your mouth will hear it, will say it. Your ears will hear it, okay? In the beginning, it's hard to do both of those things, okay? Next, number 6, share, okay? Some Spanish speakers have a problem with the CH and the SH sounds, so be careful. And perhaps some others. So repeat it after me. It's a sh at the end, okay? At the beginning. Shh, shh. Just like we say in a classroom or something, the teacher might say shh, okay? Share, share. Not chair, like what we sit on. No, share. Okay, good. The next one, multiply. Say it after me. Multiply. So here, what's problematic is the U, all right? Some people by mistake say multiply. It's not U, it's A. Multiply. Say it after me. Multiply. Good. Now, let's review these. Just say them once after me. Ready? Focus. Develop. Identify. Have. Has. Negotiate. Share. And here, multiply. Okay? Good. Let's move on to the next few. This is confusing because when we say the first one, it's pronounced in a particular way. And when we say the second one, it actually changes. But many people don't realize that it changes. All right? So, for example, we say, I say, you say, we say, they say. That's the first part. That one most people say properly, okay? The mistake usually happens here because it should be I say, but he says. She says. All right? It says. So it sounds a little bit more like, right? Says, not says. No. I say, he says. All right? Good. The next one, risk. Risk. So here, the trick, especially for Russian speakers, for example, is to make sure that you're not elongating the I. Don't say risk. No. Say, nice and short and sweet, risk. The I is very short here. Risk. Good. Okay? Number 10, answer. Answer. Okay, the stress is here. But what's important is that this short A, again, see how I'm opening my mouth? Answer. It's not answer. It's answer. What's the answer? Okay? So even if I'm exaggerating it a little bit, you can exaggerate it too in order to feel it, in order to get it. Okay? Next. Now, these 4 very interesting words. What happens here is that within each of these last 4 words, there is another word which is tricking you, okay? So for example, in this word, number 11, there is the word mine, right? There's the word mine. By itself, this is mine. Like this marker is mine. That's correct when you're just saying mine. But it's not correct when you say this full verb. So this verb is not determine. This correct pronunciation is determine. Determine. Say it after me. Determine. So 2 things are happening. We're stressing the middle, determine, and we are not saying this E, okay? It's not long. Just forget it. Forget that E. Determine. Don't forget it when you're spelling. Just forget it when you're saying it, okay? Determine. Good. A very, very common mistake. Next. Here, what happens is the word that's hiding inside this word is the word present, okay? To present. All right? Like to present something to someone or to present your presentation, right? Okay? But when we join it, it doesn't become represent because represent would mean that you present something again. But that's not the word here. This word is represent. I represent the company. I represent, okay? Rep. So what's important is not re, but rep. Represent. I wanted you to pay attention to this rep, but the stress is actually here. Represent. The stress is there, but what you have to pay attention to is here. Good. Next, measure. What's problematic here is that this word is sure. Sure, right? We say, Can I come to your house? Sure. But here it's not sure. It becomes measure. Je. Almost like sort of okay, a very fast je. Okay, measure. Say it after me. Measure. It's not sure. It's measure. Good. And this one, number 14, the word that's hiding in here is the word chase, like to run after someone. Chase. But when we say the full verb, it's not purchase, it is purchase. Purchase. So again, forget the E here at the end, and the stress is here. Purchase. Say it after me. Purchase. So let's review these. Say, says. Risk. Answer. Determine. Represent. Measure. And how's the last one? Purchase. Purchase. Okay? It's much shorter than you think and then it looks. Okay? So good that you've got those, but like I said, with pronunciation, we need to practice. So let's now put these words into some sentences and see how it goes. Because sometimes people get the words by themselves, but when they start speaking, it kind of falls apart. So let's make sure that doesn't happen to you, and let's say some sentences with these words. All right, so let's get started. And the way we're going to do that is we're going to use let's before all of these, the first 6 sentences. Okay? So I'm going to say it, and then you could repeat after me. And make sure that you pay attention to the particular word that we learned. Here we go. Let's focus on the issue. Let's focus on the issue. Let's identify the problem. Let's identify the problem. Good. Let's develop a strategy. Let's develop a strategy. Number 4, let's have a meeting. Let's have a meeting. 5, let's negotiate a lower price. Let's negotiate a lower price. Good. Number 6, let's share the information. Let's share the information. Okay? Good. Now, we're just going to look at some sentences by themselves that don't start with let's. Okay? Number 7, the sign says no entry. The sign says no entry. Okay, make sure you're saying says and not that other word. Number 8, did they answer yet? Did they answer yet? Don't be afraid to open your mouth. Answer. Okay, good. Number 9, have you determined the price? So now here, right, you're getting the past tense form. Doesn't matter. It's still the same. Have you determined the price? Good. And number 10, they purchased some new computers. Again, past tense, but doesn't matter. They purchased some new computers. Okay? Good. Now, as I said, if you need to, watch the lesson again, okay? Because you really need to do that in order to master these words, okay? And the pronunciation of these words. Pronunciation takes a little time, okay? So, these were 10 words, 10 of the most commonly confused business words in terms of pronunciation. But if you would really like to improve your pronunciation of more words, as well as your grammar and your vocabulary and other aspects of English, check out my English course. And I'll put a link to it in the description below. And there you have a chance in a very quick, easy way to improve lots of other aspects of your English. And by making these small corrections in pronunciation, in grammar, vocabulary, prepositions, you can succeed. You can succeed in taking your English to a higher level. It's not a dream. It can happen, okay? I see it happen with students all the time, and we're getting a lot of good feedback from our course as well, okay? So also, if you haven't already, don't forget to subscribe to my YouTube channel and ring the bell so you get notifications whenever we have a new lesson, okay? There is no quiz for this, but the quiz is something you can create for yourself by watching again, repeating, recording, listening to yourself, and moving forward and improving. All the best with your English. Bye for now.